Hello everyone. In this lecture, we will discuss International Standard on Auditing 330, also known as ISA 330, the auditor's responses to assess risk. This standard explains how an auditor should respond after identifying and assessing risks of material misstatement during an audit. So ISA 330 works closely with the IS 315, which deals with risk identification and assessment. So, moving to the next slide, here are some objectives of ISA 330. So, the main objective of ISA 330 is to ensure that the auditors obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence by designing and performing audit procedures that appropriately respond to the assessed risk of material misstatement. So these responses are required at two levels. First, financial statement level. Second, assertion level for classes of transaction, account balances, and disclosures. So these higher the assessed risk, the more persuasive the audit evidence required. So here is a link or relationship between ISA 315 and ISA 330. ISA 330 cannot be applied without ISA 315. ISA 315 focuses on identifying and assessing risk, whereas ISA 330 focuses on responding to those risks. So, in simple terms, ISA 315 asks what can we go wrong, and ISA 330 asks what the auditors will do about it. So, the auditor's risk assessment directly influences the nature, timing, and extent of audit procedures. Here is the types of auditors' responses. Under ISA 330, the auditor's responses broadly classified into three categories. First, overall responses to risks at the financial statement level. Second, test of controls. Third, substantive procedures. Each of these responses help the auditors reduce audit risk to an acceptably low level. So, here are overall responses at financial statement level. So, overall responses are designed to address risks that affect financial statements as a whole. Examples include assigning more experienced audit staff, increasing professional skepticism, increasing supervision, and modifying the audit strategy. So, these responses are especially important where there is a weak control environment or a risk of management override of controls. So, here are responses at the assertion level. At the assertion level, the auditor designs specific audit procedures to address risk related to assertion, such as existence, completeness, accuracy, valuation, and presentation. So the auditors may respond by performing test of control, substantive procedures, or a combination of both, depending on the nature of the risk and reliance of control. So here is a test of control. So tests of control are performed when the auditors plan to rely on internal controls to reduce substantive testing. So the purpose of these tests is to evaluate whether controls are properly designed and have operated effectively throughout the period. If controls are found to be ineffective, the auditors must increase the substantive procedures. So here are the nature of test of controls. So test of controls can be performed using inquiry, observation, inspection, or reperformance. Generally, auditors use a combination of these methods to obtain sufficient and appropriate audit evidence regarding the effectiveness of control. So, here are substantive procedures. So, substantive procedures are designed to detect material misstatements directly at the assertion level. They include test of detail and substantive analytical procedures. So ISA 330 requires substantive procedures to be performed for all material classes of transactions, account balances, and disclosures, regardless of the assessed risk. So, timing of audit procedures. Audit procedures may be performed at an interim date, at the year end, or at both stages. When assessed risk is high, audit procedures are generally performed closer to the year end to reduce the risk that material misstatements remain undetected. So, here are extent of audit procedures. The extent of audit procedures refers to the quantity of audit evidence to be obtained. It depends on factors such as level of assessed risk, materiality, and reliability of audit evidence. Higher risk require a greater extent of testing, such as larger sample sizes. So moving to the next slide, here are responses to significant risks. For significant risk, ISA 330 requires the auditors to perform substantive procedures. In such cases, test of controls alone are not sufficient. The auditors must obtain strong and direct audit evidence to address significant risks. So here is audit documentation. ISA 330 requires the auditors to document the assessed risk of material misstatement. The audit response is designed and the results of audit procedures performed. So this documentation provides evidence that the audit was planned and performed in accordance with auditing standards. So here's an illustrative example. For example, let's suppose if there is a risk of overstatement of revenue, the auditors may test controls over sales, perform substantive testing of sales transactions, and apply analytical procedures to identify unusual trends. So this ensures that the identified risk is appropriately addressed. So to conclude, ISA 330, we can say that ISA 330 is a key auditing standard that link risk assessment with audit responses. It ensures that auditors design and perform appropriate procedures to respond to or assess the risks and obtain sufficient appropriate audit evidence, thereby improving overall audit quality. So that's all for today. Thank you so much.